Hello BookTube, this is Emma from Emma's Bookish Lifestyle, and second time lucky with this video because I noticed that I had too much on my storage on my phone, so I had to do a clear out of some of the old videos before I could do this one. So let's begin without any further ado. This is a March book haul. These are the books that I have bought myself, and there are 3 books that I have kindly been sent by publishers. So let's get stuck in. The first book I have is Obsidian, which is the Illuminae Files number 3. This is the final one in the trilogy. This is going to connect the 2 stories, I believe, together and bring them to its conclusion. I'll just read the synopsis on the back. I'm not sure if I'm going to read all 3 like back to back, but I thoroughly enjoyed the first one. The second one kind of had a little bit of a second book curse, although I did enjoy it. It'd be interesting to see how this one works out. So Asha survived Bytek's initial assault and has been working undercover with the hopelessly outmatched resistance ever since. The last thing she expected to worry about was her ex-boyfriend Reese Lindstrom, who just landed planetside. He is her way out, or a guarantee she never gets off this frozen rock alive. But Asha's not the only one with problems. Her cousin Katie's ragtag band of survivors are headed for Corenza, without enough oxygen to last the journey. Oh, and there might be an insurrection brewing. With Bytek hurrying to repair their damaged jump gate and a mass extermination plan for the Corenza civilians, only a miracle could save them now, and everyone knows that miracles are just statistically probabilities, right? Sorry about that. I have a bit of a tickle at the moment, so I do apologise in advance. So this is going to conclude the 3 books. As I say, I'm not sure if I'm going to read the first 2 again before I get round to this one, see how it goes. But the first 2 were quite easy reads, so I might read those and then read this one, but I'm highly looking forward to it. And it will conclude a trilogy for me. The next book that I've got is a book called The Owl Always Hunts at Night. Now this is by Samuel Bjorg and is a sequel to the book I'm Travelling Alone. Now I have I'm Travelling Alone sitting on my TBR, and I loved the idea and the premise of the book. It's about a young boy who's travelling on a plane and then there is a plane crash. This one continues on the theme with the 2 detectives, so it's Mia Kruger and Holger Munch, and they are investigating a young woman who has been found murdered in a remote forest, surrounded by feathers, a white lily in her mouth, and the body is posed, the scenery laboriously set, and there is no forensic evidence to be found. So the first one sounded really good, and I think it might be a really good thriller, so I'm really interested to see how this one goes. And of course it's the second in the series, so if I've really enjoyed the first one, I can go straight on to book 2. Next I got this book. This is Con Iggulden, and it's Dunstan. Now the reason why I bought this was I read one of his books, Darien, last year with Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the second book in that trilogy, and I wanted to try some of his historical fiction. I did get a couple of books out from the library, but I didn't get round to reading them, and in the end they were just sitting on my library to read shelf in my room for far too long, and I had to send them back so that some other reader could enjoy them. I have so many of my own personal books that it just seems crazy to block someone from reading a very good book in the library. So I've got this one. This is Dunstan. It's One Man, 7 Kings, England's Bloody Throne, and this is based, I believe, around 10th century England, and it's starts, I think, with King Athelstan, the grandson of Alfred the Great, and moves through from that point. And the character Dunstan is from Glastonbury, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one and seeing how I get on with some of his historical fiction. The next book I've got is one that's been on my radar for a while, and I managed to pick it up at a supermarket 3-for deal. And that is Joseph Cannon's Defectors. I do love me a espionage thriller, a good espionage thriller. And this is based in Moscow in 1961 and is the launch of Sputnik, and the Soviet Union's international prestige is at an all-time high because of this, and the most notorious of the defectors to the Soviet Union, former CIA agent Frank Weeks, is about to publish his memoirs. What he reveals will send shockwaves through the West. Weeks' defection in the early 1950s shook Washington to its core and forced the resignation of his brother Simon from the State Department. Simon, now publisher in New York, is given the opportunity to read his brother's memoir. He knows the US government will never approve the publication of what is clearly intended as KGB propaganda. Yet the offer is irresistible. It will finally give him a chance to learn why his brother chose to betray his country. So yes, a bit of an espionage thriller. And Russia is something really still quite interesting about Russia to me. I'd love to read some more books that are non-fiction based on their history. So if anybody can recommend any really good ones, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd really like to get a non-fiction on Russia. The next book I picked up is Air Force Blue. Again, this was part of the 3 for 2, and this is about the RAF in World War II and is by Patrick Bishop. This is a non-fiction, and we celebrated last weekend the anniversary, the centenary of the RAF, 100 years, and my father was a member of the RAF. He was in the engineering corps working on Lightnings under Squadron 29, I believe, and so I would really be interested to read this, and this is why I've been drawn in, but also partially because it's World War II and I'm very interested in World War II, and just the kind of the mindset of the people that obviously fought for our liberty. The next book I have is by Sophia Tobin, and I've just noticed there's a sticker on it and I didn't take the sticker off. Please stop putting stickers on books. I hate them. I have some special fluid that actually works on getting these off. I'll have to find it for you and put it in one of my videos. Believe it or not, I didn't find it myself. My mother-in-law, I'm not married, but my pseudo mother-in-law, very kindly got me a bottle, and it's fantastic for removing any kind of sticky book residue. And she's a book reader too, so it's fantastic that she found that out for me. So this is Sophia Tobin's The Vanishing, and this again was the 3rd book in my 3 for 2, and it says, on top of the Yorkshire moors is an isolated spot carved out of barren landscapes. Here lies white houses. Here lies white windows, a house of shadows and secrets. Here lives Marcus Twentyman, a hard-drinking but sensitive man, and his sister Hester. When Anna Lee first meets the Twentymans, their offer of employment and lodgings seems a blessing. Only later does she discover the truth, but by then she is already in the middle of a web of darkness and intrigue, where murder seems the only possible means of escape. I have to turn this round. How eerie is that picture? Isn't it fantastic? And that's just the picture of the face under the book. Sorry, I'm in a really silly frame of mind at the moment. And then we get to my other bugbear. Unremovable Stickers. Publishers. I know that he's won this. I know that he's won this. I don't need them on the front. Can we have them on the back? If we have to have them anywhere, can we please have them on the back? I beg you. It's a pet peeve. I really hate it. But I really wanted this book, and I didn't get around to getting it in hardcover when it first came out. And this is John McGregor's Reservoir 13. I'm also keen on reading this because I know he's now brought out the Reservoir tapes, which links in with this book. So I'm really keen to get round to reading this. I'm not going to read the synopsis. A lot of people have talked about it on their channels, but that's one that I've picked up this month. Another one I've picked up this month, and good on Penguin, they haven't had to advertise that it was put up for a prize here, and this is Exit West by Mohsin Hamed. Again, talked about quite a lot on YouTube, so I'm not going to go into the synopsis, but I'm really keen to read it, so I picked that one up. Next is another thriller. There is a recurring theme. I think I'm being drawn to thrillers this year, and this is Stay Away from the Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. Now, I don't really know anything about this. I think I may have seen this on one of my colleagues on BookTube's channel, but I will just read the synopsis for you. was completely drawn in by this cover, and I read the synopsis and then thought that sounds actually really, really good, so I must pick it up. I think it was one of these ones where I walked past it 2 or 3 times, and then on the 3rd time just thought, stop picking it up and reading the synopsis and actually buy it and read it. So this says, Alice has spent most of her life on the road, always one step ahead of the strange bad luck biting at her heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch-dark fairy tales, dies alone on her isolated estate at the Hazelwood, Alice discovers how bad her luck can really get. Her own mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from the supernatural world where the fairy tales are set. Alice's only clue is the message left behind: stay away from the Hazelwood. To rescue her mother, Alice must venture first to the Hazelwood, then into the world where her grandmother's tales begin. So this has got a kind of fairy tale element to it as well, and I think that was why I was drawn to it. It's kind of got a thrillery, dark, sinister fairy tale to it, so really keen to get into that. The next book I've picked up is a historical fiction, and this is Philippa Gregory. I have read quite a few of her books, and this is The Last Tudor. I'm always interested to find out more about this particular period of history and to see if the historical research has come up with anything for another book, or whether this is just based on existing information that we kind of already know about. What drew me to it was basically this very brief description at the top. Elizabeth has become a monster in my mind. One Tudor queen took my sister, the other will take my good name. And I believe this is about Lady Jane Grey. And now, I don't really know much about her, to be honest, other than I know she was put into the Tower. And I know I've seen a very, very old film, and I can't even think if it... can't remember if it was Catherine Hepburn or someone like that played Lady Jane Grey. I remember seeing a film on it anyway. So I'm really interested to read this one. I'm not reading too much more into the back. Philippa Gregory's books are always really easy pick-upable books and quite good reads, so I'm looking forward to that. The next book and the final book of the books that I've purchased is this one, and this is Scott Turo's Testimony. Now, there was something about the eeriness of the cover that drew me into this book, and this is why it was a book by. It's not an author I've ever read before, so I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he's written previously. I know it's a fictional book, but then I read the back, and this is what drew me in, so let me read this to you. Let me lower it so you can see me. Bill Ten Boom has walked out on everything he thought was important to him: his career, his wife, even his country. Invited to become a prosecutor at the Hague's International Criminal Court, he had a chance to start afresh. But when his first case is to examine the disappearance of 400 Roma refugees, an apparent war crime left unsolved for 10 years, it's clear his new life won't be an easy one. Whispered rumours has the perpetrators ranging from Serb paramilitaries to the US Army, but there's no hard evidence to hold either accountable, and only a single witness to say it happened at all. To get to the truth, Boom must question the integrity of every person linked to the case, from Leighton Merriwell, a disgraced US Major General, to flirtatious barrister Esma Karzani, as it soon becomes apparent that every party has a vested interest and no qualms in steering the investigation in their own way. So that's Scott Turo's Testimony. So that sounds quite good as well, from a sort of, again, a thriller but legal standpoint. And now we're getting on to the last 3 books. And I do apologise, I know we're verging on the sort of 20-minute element, so I'll be quite quick. But I was very kindly sent by Two Roads 100 Small Lessons by Ashley Hay. Now this is... I believe a family story, so I do love a good family drama, and basically it's about a lady called Elsie Gormley who leaves her Brisbane house where she's lived for over 60 years and goes into a home, and Lucy Kiss and her family move into the family home and are eager to set up their new life. And as they settle in, Lucy and her husband Ben navigate the transformation from obviously being single lovers to husband and wife, and also new parents, and taking comfort from the memories of their vibrant past. But as they begin to unearth this sort of future life for themselves, there is a link to Elsie in the nursing home, and spans her life and links with the house and Lucy. So it sort of has a paranormal element to it as well, so I'm quite intrigued. Again, I've never read anything from Ashley Hay, but she's an Australian author, and I'm keen to read some more Australian fiction, so that's a good starting point for me. The next book I've got has been kindly sent to me by Simon & Schuster, and this is Gallery of the Dead by Chris Carter, and this is a Robert Hunter thriller. Now, I didn't read The Caller, so that's another book that I'll be keen to read, and it appears that this has already been turned into an addictive... Oh, no, it's not been turned into a TV box set. I misread that. It says as addictive as a TV box set. I thought this has been turned into a TV box set, so I do apologise. But this is basically a thriller, and this is the synopsis. 37 years in the force, and if I was allowed to choose just one thing to erase from my mind, what's inside that room would be it. That's what an LAPD lieutenant tells Detective Hunter and Garcia of the ultra-violent crime unit as they arrive at one of the most shocking crime scenes they have ever attended. In a completely unexpected turn of events, the detectives find themselves joining forces with the FBI to track down a serial killer whose hunting ground sees no borders, a psychopath who loves what he does because to him murder is much more than just killing, it's an art form. So that is Gallery of the Dead, and I have to admit, it was so interesting to me. I did also try and get this initially through NetGalley, and unfortunately I had too many NetGalleys to read, so I'm not going to be authorised to read many soon unless I start working my way through my NetGalley collection. But I was very kindly also sent this by Simon & Schuster, so thank you very much. And last but not least is a Helga Finstadter mystery, and again I think this is the first one, and this is by, apologies for the pronunciation of the name, Nori Christensen, and it's called Kin, and this is, I believe, a book based on I think it's a Danish family. Let's have a look at the paperwork that's been sent to me by the publisher. It's kindly been sent to me by Joe Fletcher Books. That's the publisher of this particular book, and it's based around a Viking warlord, Unther Regenson, and he brings home a treasure, and then I believe there is some family dispute over that, and his children are fighting over it. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. I think I'd rather read it before I say too much more, but that looks really interesting to me. And again, Vikings, I've not really read anything with a Viking sort of historical edge to it, so I'm really keen to read that. So YouTube, that is everything for the moment on my book haul list. I am completely up to date. I now have quite a lot of books to read, and as I said to you, I think in one of my previous videos, I've got like 10 years worth of reading ahead of me, which is fantastic, but there's always going to be new things coming up and new things happening, so watch this space. I am now going to try and publish a video on a Tuesday and a Sunday every week from now on, and I am anticipating to stick to that unless there are any kind of family issues that raise their head, but at the moment that seems to be all calmed and settled down, and we're back to normal. And I'm hoping to bring some new kind of content as well to my channel. I'm not quite sure what. I haven't done a lot of tag videos, so I am going to start doing a few tag videos. I also think I might do some of the book to film adaptation type videos. I've got a few in mind, so I'll see how I go. I've definitely done one, so I'd love to know your comments and if that's something that's of interest to you. And I'd also like to start to do a few more reviews. I do reviews through my blog, and I have got my blog channel listed down below, and I am starting to do more and more reviews through there. So please, by all means, go and check out my blog channel for more in-depth reviews. But I'm keen to see what you think about expanding BookTube and expanding BookTube into the realms of actually doing book reviews. I know they don't really get watched much, and I don't really understand why. I think if they're a non-spoiler book review, I think it would be really good. And I'd like to ask a few of my other fellow booktubers what they think. I know a lot of them, Simon at Savage Reads, David at Wild Reads, have now also got long-term blogs. I know David started up one very recently, and I know Victoria from East Alexandria has got a blog. But I'd like to know your view as people who watch my channel. Would you be interested in seeing reviews of the kind of books that I read? Not all of my books are literary fiction. Some of them are just normal off-the-shelf fiction. But I do think that really, as a BookTube channel, shouldn't we be posting reviews? It's all well and good posting TBRs, and wrap-ups are kind of little pseudo snippets of a review, but would you rather have a more detailed wrap-up where you know you actually put content on maybe of a specific genre, or maybe just of a, you know, maybe a particular author, if you're keen in a particular author and you'd like me to do a book review based on a series of books by an author, or something along those lines. It's definitely something I'm looking into, and as I say, I'm also keen on developing more my channel and expanding my channel's content. So any ideas you can possibly suggest, especially any of my my long-term booktuber pals, if you can suggest anything down below that you'd really like to know from me or see in the way of content on my videos, I'd really appreciate it. I know you're watching me, David, so some suggestions down below, please. You wanted more content, I need some help. Please direct me. What do you think would be good? I am thinking and toying with the possibility of maybe doing a historical non-fiction series based on world history rather than English history. What do you think about that? Anyway, I'm babbling on now. It's 23 minutes or thereabouts. I hope you're all well. I hope you're reading and having a great time. And spring is here. Spring has sprung. And hopefully it will stay this way in the UK and the rain will finally vanish. But you know what they say, April showers. So who's to say? Anyway, I hope you're all well. Take care. Speak to you soon, BookTube. Bye.